Welcome to AminAcademy.com. In world history, let us discuss about Vedic Age. By 1700 BCE, Harappan civilization had collapsed. In northwest India, scattered village communities engaging in agriculture and pastoralism replaced the dense and more highly populated network of cities, towns, and villages of the third millennium. The rest of northern India, too, including the Ganges River, as well as the entire subcontinent, were similarly dotted with Neolithic communities of farmers and herders. That is what the archaeological record demonstrates. The next stage is India's history is the Vedic Age. A Vedic age or Vedic period was a time in ancient India that lasted from around 1500 to 500 BCE. When it happened, the Vedic Age was a period of late Bronze Age and early Iron Age history. It came after the decline of the Indus Valley Civilization around 1400 BCE. What happened? The Vedic Age was the time when the Vedas, the oldest sacred text of Hinduism, were composed. The Vedas are a primary source of information about this period. The Vedic Age was a time when Indo-Aryans settled in northern India and brought their religious traditions. The Indo-Aryans were primarily nomadic herders who rode horses and used horse-drawn chariots. The Vedic age saw the emergence of a social hierarchy with four varnas that are Brahmans, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. The Vedic age led to the development of Brahminical ideology, which was influential in the Kuru kingdom. The Vedic age also laid the foundation for Hindu metaphysics with the equation of the Atman with Brahman. What's left today? The legacy of the Vedic age can be seen in several aspects of modern Hinduism, including the caste system, the offering of obligations to a sacred fire, and the Hindu rite of initialization. The early Aryan settlement of northern India, that is 1700 to 1000 BCE. The earlier history of the Vedic age offers the historical little primary source material. For example, for the first half of the Vedic age, that is 1700 to 1000 BCE, we are largely limited to archaeological sites and one major text called the Rig Veda. This is the first of four Vedas. It consists of 1028 hymns addressed to the Vedic people pantheon of God, but it was not actually written down until after 500 BCE, rather from as early as the beginning of the second millennium BCE. These hymns were orally composed and transmitted by Aryan poets seers, eventually becoming the preserve of a few priestly clans who utilized them for the specific religious functions of pleasing higher powers. Now, Indo-Aryans. The Indo-Aryans were a group of people who migrated from Central Asia to the Indian subcontinent and introduced the Proto-Indo-Aryan language. They were pastoralists who spoke in Indo-European languages and called themselves Aryans, which means noble people in Sanskrit. Here are some facts about the Indo-Aryans. Migration. The Indo-Aryans migrated to the Indian subcontinent over several centuries, likely between 1800 and 1500 BCE. The Indo-Aryans spoke Indo Indo-Aryan languages, which are the primary languages of many countries in the region, including Bangladesh, Nepal, North India, and Sri Lanka. Hindi, Bengali, and Punjabi are some examples of Indo-Aryan languages. The Indo-Aryans originated in present-day northern Afghanistan and were a branch of the Indo-Aryans communities. In 1500 BCE, the Indo-Aryans had established small agricultural and herding communities in northern India. British archaeologist Mortimer Wheeler proposed that the Indo-Aryans invaded and conquered the Indus River Valley, but other scholars later dismissed this theory. Now we talk about Hinduism. Hinduism is the religion of the majority of the people in India and Nepal. It also exists among significant population outside of the subcontinent and over has 900 million adherents worldwide. Unlike most other religions, Hinduism has no single founder, no single scripture, and no commonly agreed set of teachings. Next one, Varna social system. The Varna social system is a social stratification system that divides the traditional Hindu society into four hierarchical classes. Brahmins, the highest class with roles as priests, scholars, and royal advisors. Kshatriyas, the second class with roles as warriors, kings, and soldiers. Vaishyas, the third class with roles as farmers, traders, craftsmen, and ordinary citizens. Shudras, the lowest class with roles as manual laborers, slaves, and landless tenants. Here, these are the Varna system. Here, most of the scholars believe this is against humanities. An early Aryan settlement of northern India. The Indo-Aryans settled in northern India between 1700 to 1000 BCE in a region called Sapta Sindhu, which is around the Indus River and its tributaries. The Indo-Aryans settled in the area around the Indus River and its tributaries, including the Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas, Satluj, and Saraswati. They named these regions Brahmavarta, which means land of gods. Their lifestyles. The Indo-Aryans were pastoralists who raised sheep, goats, and cattle. They preserved their religious and literary works through memorization and recitation. The language. Indo-Aryans spoke Sanskrit, which is a part of the Indo-Aryan group of languages. These languages are closely related to languages used in neighboring Iran. Indo-Aryans were polytheistic, believing in a universe populated by divinities and demons. They believed that priests could secure blessings for the people by chanting hymns and sacrificing to the gods. Caste system. Indo-Aryans developed a caste system, the Vedic period, which lasted from approximately 1750 to 500 BCE, is named after the Vedas, Hinduism's oldest scriptures. The oldest Hindu scripture, the Rig Veda, was composed during the early Vedic period. Now we'll talk about Rig Veda. Rig Veda, the oldest of the sacred books of Hinduism, composed in an ancient from the Sanskrit about 1500 BCE. In what is now the Punjab region of India and Pakistan, it consists of a collection of 1028 poems grouped into 10 circles, that is mandalas, It is generally agreed that the first and last book were created later than the middle books. The Rig Veda was preserved orally before it was written down about 300 BCE. What is Sanskrit language? The Sanskrit language, from Sanskrit samstra, adorned, cultivated, means cultivated, purified. An old Indo-Aryan language in which the most ancient documents are the Vedas, composed in what is called Vedic Sanskrit. Although Vedic documents represent the dialects then found in the northern Midlands of the Indian subcontinent and areas immediately east thereof, the very earliest texts, including the Rig Veda, the Veda composed in verses, which scholars generally ascribe to approximately 1500 BCE, stem from the northwestern part of the subcontinent, the area of ancient seven rivers Sapta Sindhwar. This is a source script of Sanskrit. What is Indra? Indra, that is Hindu mythology, the king of the gods. He is one of the main gods of the Rig Veda and is the Indo-European cousin of the German Wotan, Norse Odin, Greek Zeus, and Roman Jupiter. Now we'll talk about the origin of the Aryan people and the Indo-European hypothesis. Because of the Aryans came to India as migrating pastoralists from mountainous regions to the northwest of the Indian subcontinent. Historians have sought to understand their origins. Sanskrit has proved important clues because it contains features similar to language spoken at some point in Europe, Iran, and Central Asia. For example, although they are vastly different languages, Latin, Persian, and Sanskrit share similar sounds, vocabulary, and grammar. The Aryans are thought to have originated in Central Asia, possibly in a region near the Ural River. They were pastoralists who migrated to India and Iran, bringing Indo-European languages and the Vedic religion with them. Here's some more information about the Aryans. Aryans arrived in India between 2000 BCE and 1500 BCE, possibly after the collapse of the Indus Valley Civilization. The Aryans spoke Indo-Iranian languages, which they spread to large part of Eurasia. The Aryans brought the Vedic religion to India, which influenced the development of modern Hinduism. They also introduced India's caste system of hierarchical classes, relationship to the other people. Aryans are thought to be related to the earlier settlement of Europe and Iran, Indo-Aryan peoples. Today, Indo-Aryan speakers live in Bangladesh, Nepal, Eastern Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Maldives, and northern India. The term Aryan was used by both the Central Asians who moved into Iran and the people who moved to India. Those are Iranians. Those are Aryans. Next, we'll talk about later Vedic Age. During the early centuries of the Vedic Age, the world of the Aryan tribes was the rural settings of the Punjab. Some settlers, however, migrated east to the upper reaches of the Ganges River, setting the stage for the next period in India's history, the later Vedic Age. The later Vedic Age differs from the early Vedic Age in that during these centuries, lands along the Ganges River were colonized by the Aryans and their political, economical, social, and religious life became more complex. Over the course of these 4 centuries, Aryan tribes with horses harnessed to chariots and wagons drawn by oxen drove their herds east, migrating along and colonizing the plains surrounding the Ganges. Historians debate whether this happened through conquest and warfare of intermittent migration led by traders and people seeking land and opportunity. The later Vedic Age was period in ancient India that lasted from approximately 1000 to 500 BC. The Aryans expanded from Punjab to the Ganges plain, conquering non-Aryans and increasing their land territory. Social structures. Complex social structures developed, including the caste system. The Kuru kingdom was formed in 900 BC by the Bharatas and Kurus tribes, and the Panchala kingdom started in 1100 BC. Text. The Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharvana Veda were composed along with the Brahmanas, Upanishads, and the great narratives Ramayana and Mahabharata. Culture. Hinduism developed as we know it today. Transportation. Wagons, chariots, ships, boats, and yachts were used for transportation and trade. Housing. Houses were made of wood and utensils were mainly made of copper. Women's status deteriorated and they were not allowed to participate in public gatherings or ceremonies. The king became the absolute power and was usually Kshatriya from Kshatriya group. Brahmanism. The Brahmanism is an ancient Indian religious tradition that developed from the Vedic religion and is considered a forerunner to Hinduism. Dr. Ambedkar says the history of India is nothing but a history of mortal conflict between Buddhism and Brahmanisms. Their beliefs. Brahmanas focuses on Brahmans and ultimate reality and the idea that everything belongs to and returns to Brahmins after escaping reincarnation. Brahmanism developed during a late Vedic period, that is 1100 to 500 BCE. The Upanishads, philosophical texts that are part of the Vedas, theorize about Brahman. Caste system. Brahmanism includes the caste system, which is made up of 4 varnas: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Brahminical ideology. Brahminical ideology holds that Brahmins are naturally privileged and entitled to rule society. Criticism. The term Brahmanism is often used by opponents who criticize Brahminical ideology under the domination of Indian society by Brahmins. Some say that Brahmanism is incompatible with the Indian constitution, which values liberty, equality, and fraternity. Now, in Brahmanism, Varnas became hereditary social classes. That means a person was born into one of these and usually remained there for complete life, pursuing an occupation including in and marrying someone belonging to that Varna only. Varna has also been translated as ritual status. Your Varna determined how pure or polluted you are, and thus what level of participations in rituals you would be allowed, and also who you could associate with. Varna thus defined as a social hierarchy. So most of the peoples don't want that Varnas. Brahmins were the purest and most honored. They think themselves. Warriors were respected for their leadership and supported the Brahmins, who affirmed their authority by carrying out royal ceremonies. The Brahmins were not content with the 1028 hymns of the Rig Veda. Later Vedas set the hymns to music, added prose formulas that were to be uttered in the course of sacrificing to the divinities. The Upanishads, however, added an entirely new set of ideas. The title means sitting near and points to a setting where sages conveyed spiritual insights to students through dialogues, stories, and analogies. In conclusion, by the end of the Vedic age, northern India had undergone immense changes. An Aryan civilization emerged and spread across the Indo-Gangetic plains. This civilization was characterized by the Brahminist religions, that is, a Brahmanism, the use of Sanskrit and the Varna social system. The simpler the simpler rural life of the clans of earlier times was giving way to the formation of states, and new religious ideas were being added to the evolving traditional known today as Hinduism. So far, we discussed about in world history the Vedic age. We have done. Please subscribe our YouTube channel.